Hi, everybody, and welcome to Recapped with Established. I'm Rich Maloy, and I'm your host today, joined by Richard Munassi. Thanks, Richard, for being here.
Thanks for having me today, Rich. Great to see you.
Yeah, man, likewise. So each week we hold office hours for startups in the Startup of the Year network. Excuse me. The office hours are private so that the founders are comfortable sharing what's top of mind for them. But then we get together, the mentors get together at the end to talk about what's on co-founders' minds and to share the advice that we offer to the startups, to share that advice with you, the viewer, so you can benefit from the mentorship here at Startup of the Year as well. If you're a startup and you'd like access to these office hours, boy, oh boy, well, you can tell it's live, right? I've really got a frog in my throat today, huh? Sorry about that. If you'd like access to these office hours, you can apply to Startup of the Year by going to soty.link/SOTY2020. I'll drop that link in the chat, and you can have access to mentors such as myself and Richard. And so, speaking of which, joining Recap today, Richard Munassi MD MBA, VIP as far as the established team is concerned. So, Richard, would love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you having me. Thanks for having me today, Rich. I really appreciate it. And thank you to the entire team at Established for putting together this great program for startups throughout the country as well as abroad. So I am Dr. Richard Munassi. I'm the cohort director at the Tampa Bay Wave Technology Accelerator Program located in Tampa, Florida. I am also the co-founder of Blackfin Technology Partners. That's a startup in and of itself. We build software for hospital CFOs. I'm also the executive in residence for the University of Florida's UF Innovate program. I do some work with Mass Challenge as an advisor and speaker, and wear a couple of other hats as well. So I keep pretty busy, but always have time for the established team, given the great work you guys have done for startups really all over.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Yeah, no, we love having you as part of the program. And you've been a regular supporter, and we know we can always count on you to take good care of the startups in our network.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, tell us what were you hearing from startups this week?
It's funny, when we think about startups and the things that they need, it always kind of comes down to the same three things. First and foremost, money, right? Investment. Secondly, and just as important, money as far as customers, of course. And then third is always support, and that's a little bit of everything. So throughout the week, just like every week, it feels the conversation around investment, especially now given COVID, is top of mind for every company. It seems as if every company knows a peer that has gone down, unfortunately, in these odd times here, not just in the US, but also throughout the world, or they've had to cut staff or are feeling the pinch of having to cut staff or worrying about where their next round is going to be. So I think that's been top of mind, and I've had several conversations, but the good thing is this, there is money being put out throughout the US. When you think about a venture capital firm and how the funds work according to their life cycle, lots of these funds are sitting on lots of money that needs to be deployed. I believe that Q1 of 2020 was actually the highest number with regards to amount of money under VC, that VCPE umbrella, for lack of a better term.
I believe that.
So lots of fun, lots of funds are sitting on dry powder, and I think it's been nice to, try to help these companies and help kind of let them know that there are people writing checks, and then also the last few weeks in particular, there's been kind of an upsurge of new funds focused on underserved minorities. Everybody from, Lightspeed just closed one. Here in Florida, we have an organization called Seed Funders that's doing an opportunity fund. And it's really happening throughout the country. So I implore each and every startup out there watching, just keep your eyes on what's happening with regards to the opportunities and opportunity funds and different venture groups, because they will be the most likely to cut checks given these trying times. Angels, I think, are going to be a little bit more hesitant, just given their risk profile.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, to add some data points to your dry powder comment, right? I'm in a Slack group with about 40 other Colorado venture investors, and we did an informal survey if in April, if anybody was still investing, and everybody was still investing. And springtime, where I'm a partner, we made 6 investments since March, which is
great.
crazy. We made 6 investments in our first year, but In established ventures as well, we've made 2 investments already this year out of our SPV that we have. So there's definitely a lot out there. I think the dry powder, right? You mentioned the venture fund life cycle, right? And so you raise a fund, you have 5 years to deploy that fund. Sometimes a Bay Area firm might deploy it in 2 years, but the rest of the country that operates maybe a little bit more normally, we're deploying funds over maybe 3 to 5 years. So if you raised a fund 2 years ago, you still have plenty of capital to deploy. And we're all in this business for the long term and willing to take on risk, right? But it has to be the appropriate risk. And, so if you could show how you've de-risked against COVID and or even just how you've survived and how you plan to, instead of have 12 to 18 months of runway, you've got 18 to 24 months of runway, that these are things that you can still get investor attention out of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Or how you've pivoted as well to service new needs within this environment.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then seeing the rise of the funds that are servicing the underestimated founders has also been fantastic. I had the pleasure of meeting Jewel from Collab Capital at a revenue-based financing working group in Kansas City at the beginning of the year. And I met one of her other partners as well. I forget his name, but they just announced that they're raising $50 million. They're out of Atlanta. And that having that mix of different asset types is really important, right? So you can invest on revenue, or you can invest on an equity basis, or find other ways to fund companies and to build and grow that business.
One thing that's interesting is as we shift to this new remote work environment, companies are getting more comfortable with it. Workers are getting more comfortable with it. Accelerators are getting more comfortable with it. For example, we've never done a virtual program before, and our first month of our new tech diversity cohort, which kicked off just last week, was remote, and it's probably going to end up being remote for the entire summer, given how the numbers are tracking. And what you're seeing, I think, on a macro level, and Rich, please let me know your thoughts as well. Venture groups, there are always parameters around the thesis, sometimes with regards to geographic location, but I think there's a lot more comfort now of the virtual pitch, the virtual data exchange that will move checks going faster versus that kind of face-to-face, let's put some time in the boardroom, let's dig in with these startups.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm biased in this regard. I've worked remotely for the last 6 years. So this is, the only thing that changed is that my kids are not at preschool. Now they're just outside my door. That's basically, so this is my life anyway, and has been for 6 years, and figuring out, how to manage that piece. And we actually established is a fully remote company, right? So we've got people in Santa Barbara, in Maine, in Colorado, in South Dakota, Indianapolis, Austin, Texas, right? So we're all over. So we're just accustomed to making decisions and operating on a remote basis. So it's nice to see the rest of the country accept this and be able to move with it, right? And also, we're in the startup world. We're used to pivoting. We're used to change. We're comfortable with change. And being able to facilitate decisions in a remote environment, right, just takes a little bit of adaptation. And I think everybody, to your point, people have gotten used to it, right? And that you're comfortable making decisions, remotely as a team, which is what it comes down to. Yeah. So so shifting gears a little bit, I don't know about you, but I had a lot of early stage companies that I spoke to this week, and like 0 to 1. One that didn't even have a website, and just needed to has a product and has been producing a product, and it's a physical product, and has it all lined up to manufacture and distribute. But when you're not in this world, when you're not in the startup world, and you're not accustomed to that, even just knowing like, hey, look, here's 3 places you can go to get a free website, and just have that presence out there, right? And then one of the big things that I was really pushing this week was doing customer discovery, right? And the value proposition design workbook is one of my favorites that I always recommend. Ash Murray's Lean Stack is something I always recommend. But get out, talk to your customers, conduct problem-focused interviews, not solution-focused interviews, and digging in on that. This has got to be your world. I'm in the accelerator space.
Absolutely. Pushing for customer discovery, that is the critical step in all of this. Too many times, startups will lean into their idea of what the customer wants. They'll put their head down, they'll go into quote unquote stealth mode, they'll start building and they'll start building, and then they'll go out there and then people won't buy it. It's very, very important for everybody listening. And I know this is Startup 101, but I can't stress it enough. Talk to as many people as you can as early as possible and just give people what they want. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, this whole world is just about providing solutions to pain points that can then take your company and turn it into something pretty big or have an acquisition happen relatively quickly as well. I
Mm.
had some great conversations this last week, actually around corporate engagement. So I ended up talking to IBM, leadership at IBM, also leadership with the Global Accelerator Network, and leadership also with Berkshire Hathaway, talking about engagement with startups and innovation and what they're looking for. And the answer came back, you know, three times, same thing always. What we're looking for is we're looking for specific solutions that can integrate into what we have, that can make a big difference for either our workers internally, for our revenue, or for our customers. And it can even be one of those solutions that might not seem like a lot to us outside of those organizations, but for them as these large behemoths to try to build something innovative from the ground up, deal with the red tape, deal with the hassle and the time. They're really looking for solutions, and they have acquisition budgets as well. So for all of you out there, really just make sure that you're pounding the pavement. LinkedIn should be your best friend at this point. Your cell phone, Zoom conferences, and Google, and the list goes on and on. But maybe counterintuitively, people are more open, at least I've seen in these last few weeks, to respond and engage
Mm.
with earlier stage companies just because we're all doing the same thing. We're all sitting at home, we're all trying to work from home. And, there is a level, I think, of, I don't want to say boredom, but I think there's a level of opportunity due to the fact that people are more comfortable speaking in front of a computer and are looking for new things with their we all have extra time now, whether we want to admit it or not. And, some there's some good opportunities out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that I heard from an IBM executive was when I was at IBM was actually the way they described it was that they load their guns for elephant, right? For example, right? And if a moose comes across the path, well, we're not hunting moose, we're hunting elephant, right? Maybe hunting elephants is a terrible example. Let's let's say we're loading for moose, right? And a
Yeah,
deer comes across your path. Well, it's more Colorado appropriate, maybe. All right, you're not, we're not hunting deer, we're not hunting elk, we're hunting moose, right? And so the thinking there is that they go out looking for something specific, and if you fit that specific thing, then you're in their crosshairs. And if you're not, then it's just not of interest, right? And it's not going to be a fit. Have you seen some of that, or have you seen a little bit of more of like, why don't you tell us what your startup does, and maybe we'll see if there's a fit.
both. But
Okay.
I think far and away, really looking for those specific pain points and things that can solve them has been something that I've seen happening more and more, and really from odd places. So, for example, had a great conversation with the engagement team from State Farm,
Hmm.
and they're looking at a solution that on paper it doesn't make sense. But then once I dug in a little bit with the State Farm representation, then I understood, okay, well, they're doing something completely different that we're just not aware of as consumers. And I think that's something in this day and age with large conglomerates that own companies that you might not even be aware that they own. You never know what's kind of cooking behind the scenes and what problems that they're really looking to solve.
Yeah.
And you can come and speak to, as a founder, people like you, Rich, or like me, or the established team, or mentors in the field. All we can give you is our experience. And I tell people over and over again, they'll ask me, hey, what do you think of this idea? Like, I'd love to do this. And I'll tell them, well, that's great, but it doesn't matter what I think. I'm not your customer. So I'll tell you all day that it's great, and I'll shake your hand. But what I try to do in those situations is get them in front of someone who could potentially buy it and that has a better idea of the pain point that can then help them. And I really want to make sure everyone on the call that is a startup understands. I'd love to help out in any way that I can. Rich, fantastic friend to the startup community, everybody at Established as well. But really talking to your customers or your potential customers can tell you right away whether you actually have something or you don't. And then also you're setting yourself up to have your early adopters and customers with every conversation.
Yeah. Yes. I love it. I love it. A story I told that I've told many times that is, I heard from somebody else, but is, the smelly dog problem. And the short version is this: don't you hate it when your dog smells? Well, yeah, sure. I hate it when my dog smells. Well, don't you wish you had a solution that would help your dog, not smell in between giving it a bath? Yeah, sure. I do. Right. That is very different than asking a dog owner, what are the top 3 problems that you face as a dog owner? And it's, and it turns out what the top 3 problems are is I'm worried about my dog when it's home alone and my dog has bad behavior or my dog sheds a lot. Right. And those are your top 3 things. And guess what? Smelly dog, not even in the top 10, not even anywhere on the list. Right. And so knowing that if, how you talk to those potential customers is just as important as getting out and talking to them. All right. So I always tell founders, just remember the smelly dog problem and don't be pushing your solution. You talk about the problem and understand your customer's pain, which is exactly what you're talking about. And it's just so critical for founders to understand, especially at the early stages.
Absolutely. It's a great analogy.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome to it. It's a good one because it's memorable, I think.
Well, we have a half Chihuahua, half Pomeranian in the house that somehow got the worst of both worlds. So she barks, she's jittery, and then she sheds everywhere. So those are my 3 problems. But I'll definitely keep that top of mind.
Perfect, right? Smelly dog is not really on your
Not at all.
On your list at all. So another thought that as you were talking about, you mentioned earlier about LinkedIn, right? And expanding your network. And this is something that founders should always be doing. And, I met with 2 founders that were new to the entrepreneurial world and just didn't have the muscles really for going out and expanding their network and understanding that the startup world is a community. Right. And we are all here supporting each other. And you don't realize when you go out your door, when you can go out your door or virtually, how many wonderful people there are that are out there and that are able to make connections and build those bridges for you. I'm going to introduce this one in particular was a consumer packaged goods company, and I'm going to introduce them to the CPG super connector in their town. And I know that person will be able to make a bunch of other connections for them and get them out of their normal box, right, and into a broader community to get more connections and more advice, and maybe even find some partners and angel investors.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with you. It is sort of those introductions and learning how to network. I think given our current environment with COVID, it's a new opportunity out there. So really leveraging technology in the comfort of your own home.
Yeah.
A lot of people that are introverts or that might not be used to it, sending an email or sitting down and having a one-on-one conversation like this could be a lot less stressful than being in a crowded environment and trying to stand out in a room full of leadership like yourself, investors, other startups, and maybe a llama or 2, for example. So really learning how to leverage LinkedIn etiquette, for example, making sure you're leveraging warm intros, that's critically important. Another thing too is look inwards. As a founder, what are the connections that you already have? What are connections that you have that would be open to communication, such as your alumni network? So I was just prior to this meeting, actually, I was on an established mentor call with a company where the founder was just about to start a program at the University of Pennsylvania. And here at the Tampa Bay Wave, we've had multiple founders with UPenn MBAs from Wharton, as well as UPenn PhDs. For some reason, I don't know what happened, but we have a large influx of UPenn graduates and then Harvard graduates with regards to the Northeast and the Ivies. Huh. And I let this founder know, I said, hey, you're not even starting the program for a few weeks, but right now you are a member of the University of Pennsylvania, one of the top academic institutions in this country. Don't wait until you start. Don't take a reactive approach to networking. Really go out there, be proactive, learn about who the alumni are. What are the leadership, not just in your specific educational area of study, but also an MBA program or the PhD programs that are available there. Find out who seem to be the champions for people that are innovators and entrepreneurs, and make sure you just introduce yourself and let them know, hey, look, I'm part of this program for the next 12 to 18 months. I'd love to get to know you better. I know that things are remote, but really put yourself out there and get to know those people, because everyone, especially within this world of innovation, is just one or two steps away from everybody else. On any given day, Rich, I mean, we can look at our LinkedIn, and it always surprises me. I'll add somebody, or look on somebody's page. I'll think, holy cow, how does this person know this other person that I've known for 10 or 15 years? But that's just how this world
Yep.
works. And once, especially, you cut down to your sub verticals, so like health tech, gov tech, or even further down into medical device and so on and so forth,
Yeah.
the network gets very small very quickly.
Yeah. Man, I love that. I absolutely love that. You're out, and totally, people, the alumni network is just underutilized, I think. And so,
It really is. I think a lot of it is because when we're in college, we're just all we're trying to think of is like, let me just get out of here as fast as I can. Let me pass my classes. Let me get to work. But really being strategic about everything that you do and leveraging the people that will be more open to speak with you, especially initially,
yeah.
is only going to bring value. And that's also where something like a Tampa Bay Wave or other accelerator and incubator programs can help you fill the gaps. So the networks there are also robust. We've been around for 10 years and change. We've had, I want to say, I believe we're on cohort 21
Wow.
right now.
Congrats.
That's a lot. Thank you very much. And over the years, we went from regional to now national and international. So our network here at Wave, just like networks at Techstars or Y Combinator or Alchemist or Rice University or Harvard Innovation Lab, so on and so forth. The networks go beyond just what's regional. So as an entrepreneur, don't be afraid to put yourself out there and just probe and see what value you can pull from organizations. And then also don't forget to give back. The motto that I try to live by and I try to teach our startups to live by is really give first. We're here to provide a service for something that's hurting somebody, either hurting their wallet or in healthcare, hurting their health. So if we live by that, we'll be able to find success in the things that we do. And that goes to kind of networking as well. And don't just try to take, also try to give back and provide support to the people around you that are helping.
Yep, absolutely. You've got something to offer somebody.
Absolutely. You'd be surprised. A lot of the things that we do, whether it's at the Tampa Bay Wave or at the University of Florida or Mass Challenge, or even within my own company, is based on this sort of peer-to-peer networking and warm introductions. That's a critical thing for us to do to find success. So a lot of the companies that actually even end up applying to these programs, they're referrals where someone will tell me, hey, you need to keep an eye out for this company. They're a good one. And then gradually over time, we engage, and if they like us and we like them, then it's a long-term relationship.
Excellent. Yeah. And we've met great startups through Tampa Bay Wave. And as I said earlier, it's a great relationship. You guys are great allies for startups in general, and definitely for, working with you through the Startup of the Year program. So we appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Do you have applications open? What's the latest for Wave?
So right now, we just started a new cohort about a week and a half ago. But that being said, we have another cohort coming up in September. That cohort is focused on female founders that are either located in or have deep ties to the state of Florida. That program is underwritten by JP Chase. They've been a generous sponsor, and they've covered program costs for the next 2 years.
Wow.
And they are really, JP Chase, very, very driven on ensuring that female founders get the support that they need. We are running that program in conjunction with a local organization called Embark Collective.
Oh, yeah.
Embark Collective is also a good friend to startups. I know established, you guys have interacted with them several times. That's a program that's been founded by Jeff Vinnick, the owner of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And we are actually very, very excited to find these Florida-based companies, give them the support that they need, and let them know that entrepreneurship is really for everyone, especially tech entrepreneurship, because all it is at the end of the day is code is code, and it's all about how hard you work and the problems that you solve and the team that you have. And we're very much looking forward to it.
Awesome. I love that. I'll tell you what, I'll go through the Startup of the Year applicants for 2020, and I'll see cross-reference Florida and female founders. And we'll see who we can.
Thank you very much, Rich. Much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, it's great, because I feel very confident recommending the work that you do. So,
thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, and from the established side, if you'd like access to office hours with Richard or myself or other mentors from our community, then please do apply. Just search for Startup of the Year or go to soty.link/SOTY2020. Put that link in the chat as well. And then as part of the Startup of the Year network, you get access to our network of mentors and investors and industry professionals and corporate partners. So thank you everybody for joining us today. Another great round of office hours this week and another great batch of startups that I'm cheering for and looking forward to see their progress in the future. Thank you for joining today, Richard.
Thanks for having me. Everyone take care out there and please be safe.
Yep, absolutely.